watching.
Subscribe.
Hello, you're watching ScreenStalker, I'm Laurie Blake, and this is the movie news. Have yourself a super click party by tapping the thumbs up, prodding subscribe, and snap the bell icon into dust to enable notifications, and leave us a comment down below to answer our question of the day. Which random ass Marvel hero would you most like to see as an Avenger? Because you might be right. But first we turn to friendly neighborhood spoiler man, Tom Holland, who had a warning for those about to watch the brand new trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home.
The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer is about to play, but if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, stop watching because there's some serious spoilers about to come up.
Yeah, like how come you're alive? And also, how come Tom Holland is warning us all before he goes and spoils a film? That means one thing. That's not the real Tom Holland. You're a scroll, mate. You're a dirty scroll. It's actually a fairly classy move from Sony, although it's a shame they didn't have a follow-on line that went da-da-da-da-da, if you haven't seen Endgame, yada-yada, spoilers, and if you haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home, you have now because here's the entire movie in trailer format. Because like a pair of assless, crotchless, chapless chaps, this thing does not leave a lot to the imagination. Needless to say, there are spoilers now. The trailer reveals that Mysterio, aka Quentin Beck, is from an alternate Earth, and the gateway to that multiverse was torn open by one of the snaps on the old Infinity Gauntlet in Endgame, or maybe Infinity War. Although this could all just be one of Mysterio's many illusions and just an outright fib. Though I'm not sure why Nick Fury, the most naturally suspicious man in all of Marvel, is buying it. The trailer also reveals a world post-Iron Man that is aware of the heroic sacrifice Tony made during Endgame and mourning him with Banksy murals just about everywhere. And it also reveals that MJ is cottoned on to the fact that Peter is Spider-Man.
MJ, I
am Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not.
I mean, it's kind of obvious.
You didn't fancy saving that moment for the cinema then, Sony? Sure, it's your choice. Just would have been like a neat surprise. It's fine, it's your choice. I think the weird thing about this spoilerific trailer is that it's such a different tactic employed by Sony compared to Marvel. So this really feels like a dramatic swing in the opposite direction when we've just had Endgame, which was all about secrets and surprises. Some of which are only just coming to light now too. Because while Endgame did an amazing job of tying up the Infinity Saga with Iron Man and Black Widow making the ultimate sacrifice, Cap finally getting a happy ending, woohoo, Hulk potentially out of action after that snap damage, Thor off with the Guardians, and Hawkeye having to explain his haircut to his family, it feels like a new crop of top Avengers is desperately needed. And we definitely got some of that with Steve passing the ceremonial torch and shield to Falcon, Valkyrie taking over the new Asgard, and the Spider-Man trailer definitely suggests that Peter Parker will be stepping into Iron Man's shoes, at least so far as making Happy Hogan's life miserable. But there's one more name to potentially add to that list too. One, Brian Braddock, who may sound like someone who came around to sort out your grouting, but this is actually Captain Britain. And it turns out that the better Cap, as he's known on this side of the pond, was hinted at in an important scene in Avengers Endgame, but really it flew under the radar for most people. That is until a closed caption screening of the movie made it perfectly clear. Because Reddit users Droidica75 and Wolffang88, cool names guys, shared what was said in the screenings, saying that in the scene in which Cap sees Peggy in the 1970s, she's on the phone and she says that Braddock hasn't checked in. I'm not a meteorologist, it's not lightning. One, that's referencing Braddock by name, but it's also potentially referencing the exact sort of magical shenanigans that gave Captain Britain his powers. You know, the kind of British stuff. Merlin, chivalry, not wanting to be in the EU, tea. It is fair to say, though, that Captain Britain hasn't exactly been a big money player in the Marvel mainstream before, but this hint suggests that he's at least on the company's minds. And with Black Panther and soon Shang-Chi moving the MCU to other places on Earth, because before it was basically New York or space, that was the bandwidth, it could definitely be a thing. Especially if he shows up during Spider-Man's vacay in Far From Home, just waving off the top of the Tower of London. Something like that. But while fans are trying to work out who might be the next set of Avengers, the directors of Avengers are trying to work out what are we going to do now? Because Joe and Anthony Russo have both said that their time with Marvel will come to an end post-Endgame, though they have suggested previously a few stories they would love to come back on and direct. Secret Wars, for instance. But if their tenure with the MCU is over, then what next for the newly minted masters of the superhero blockbuster? Well, there is one other company with a rich library of characters that is in desperate need of some help building a cinematic universe. Give me a D. Give me a C. What does it spell? Bad movies. And it definitely seems like something the brothers would be keen for, as during a live Q&A session with comicbook.com, Joe Russo said that if he ever did end up directing a DC film, he would want it to be Batman, one because duh, but two because he was a massive fan growing up and collected a lot of memorabilia. So far, so positive. And you've got to imagine that DC would also relish the opportunity to work with the Russos because, I mean, they're not exactly shy about liking Marvel's sloppy seconds. They brought on Joss Whedon to finish Justice League. They got hold of James Gunn to sort of reboot Suicide Squad for no reason. But then you got to think that maybe it's the Russos who might think twice about actually working with DC, no matter how much they want to, because it was Marvel who gave them their big break into film directing, unless of course you're counting Yumi and Dupree, which you shouldn't. And in that time, the company has also had them helm their biggest and most successful films. So you'd imagine that the brothers would just remain loyal to Marvel and Disney, especially if there's a chance of a Star Wars film down the line. Thank you for watching, and don't forget that super click party on the like, subscribe, and bell icons. And remember to answer that question of the day too. Head on over there for more awesome ScreenStalker content, including me, Chopper, and housemate Simon losing our damn minds playing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. The rage was really real, and I'm not even over it now. I've been Laurie Blake, and remember, we're watching.